All right, so today we're at my house again, installing this Rainbird esp-me3 controller, which for those of you that have watched any of our irrigation content will know that it's my chosen controller. I really like it. There's probably other controllers that do more, but yeah, it's one I like, so I'm going to put it in and see how it goes at my place. We might end up changing controllers around because I own an irrigation shop and I'll probably just keep trying different controllers, and it helps with content. So this controller comes in a box, come on, like this. I think we've done an unboxing of this.
Yeah.
So it comes like that. Obviously everything that you need from a controller standpoint is in the box, including wall plugs and screws. I just frantically wiped this bench clean and just like pushed it all on the ground so that we had a workspace to work with, because that's important. What the hell? There's cardboard inside the screen. Look at that. How does that get in there? That's trippy. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll install it anyway. One of the great things about this controller is these panels are replaceable, so I can mount this on the wall, and if there's a problem, well, look, I'm not too stressed about that. It just looks like there's a bit of plastic that's kind of come loose in there. It's very easy to be critical of these things when these are manufactured by people and mass manufactured. I guess the controller's still fit for purpose, even with a bit of cardboard in there. So what I need to do is go hang this on a wall and then run the cables into the controller and then join the cables in the valves. Now, you guys, if you're watching any of our content, you would have seen that I've already got the solenoid valves in the ground. I've been running them manually just by turning them on and off. This controller will take that process out of play, and I'll be able to, well, I can't really travel overseas, but not be at my house, and I can program the controller from my phone using a Wi-Fi module. We've got a Wi-Fi module. Here's one we prepared earlier. Yep, there's one in there. So the Rainbird esp-me3 comes as a bare bones controller, and it's just, I guess, a brain without the ability to communicate with the outside world. This dongle gives it the ability to communicate with the outside world. I'll link up in the comments below this video a couple of other videos around this controller, so you can have a look if you want to look at a bit more about the unboxing. This video is more about how to hang them and how to wire them up. So I'm going to get all the tools out and I'll show you what we need to do this so that you can get everything ready at your place, and we'll get drilling. So, controller, wall plugs, drill, fully charged battery, masonry drill bit. Now, these look quite small. This looks quite big. So I did have I had some 6mm masonry bits here. Sorry, I had some 6mm plugs here because I knew we were going to be filming this, and I had some lights installed in them. I think my electrician stole my plugs. So let's see if there's any instructions in here on how to hang a controller. Installation: drive a mounting screw into your wall, leaving a 1/8 inch gap between the screw head. Yep, that's easy, that makes sense. Locate the keyhole slot. Yep, that makes sense. Open up the panel. Cool. So I'm going to need a spirit level, multi-grips, electrical conduit, and I need wire strippers. If you want to make it straight, use a spirit level. The way these mount, you hang the first screw there, and then you drill through the other screws, so we could get it on there, get the spirit level, mark those holes, and then drill those holes. I like to run a conduit. You don't have to, it looks neater. So I've had the guys chop these up. This comes as a 4-meter length. This is 20mm conduit, and the elbows. So the conduit would mount to the wall and it keeps the cable neatly up against the wall. The electrical cable that we use for these controllers doesn't have a UV stable external, so the sun will eventually deteriorate that red cable and then it will all go. You don't want that. So, and then the bottom of this, you kind of get pretty close to the right size. So you can knock them out and do other ones, but we'll be pretty close. The controller that I'm using today is an outdoor controller, so it can be mounted outside in the weather. If you want to stop any bugs from getting in there and shorting themselves out against any circuits, you could silicon up that hole or block it up somehow. So what we'll go do now is head outside. Hopefully I've got everything I need to install this controller. We're going to soon find out. Now, you'll see when we get out there, I've got a lot of infrastructure at the back. We've got 3 air conditioners, a pool heater, a pool filter, outdoor lighting, like a lot of stuff. It's important to plan this ahead. I haven't really planned it ahead. I've got a rough idea of where I want to put it, but we also have a lighting driver that we're going to run near that controller. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm mounting the controller. So to start with, we're going to need this first screw, the drill, and a screwdriver. So this is the lighting driver that we need to mount as well. A lighting driver is slightly different to a lighting transformer. It's what they use for LED lights. It's quite big, so that's going to need to go somewhere here. And then this is going to need to go there, or vice versa, or the other way around. And they'll both plug into there. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here. This bugs me, the different heights. It blows me away that someone would happily just drill holes in there and just shove that up there. And I've got another couple of holes down there, like, it doesn't matter, just fucking leave it there. Do it as neat as you can, if that matters to you. So I'm also at this point thinking about how I'm going to get my cable from there up across into the controller. Now, the lighting cable has been left here by the landscape company. There's a garden lighting cable and an irrigation cable. That red cable's for the irrigation and the black cable's for the garden lighting. So I'm going to open all that up before we get started and just see how much I've got. I might find that I can't put the controller where I want to because I don't have enough length on this cable. Hopefully they've left me a lot. Yeah, beautiful. So as I said before, these have been pre-cut. They would usually come as a full length. It's a bit of a situation because we've already got conduit here over the wall. Well, that they've kind of, while like, and look that, you look at that, man, like, I don't know. I'm just going to probably end up using the conduit to protect the cable, but not screw it to the wall necessarily. So it'll just kind of sit off like that, maybe, I don't know. I really just wanted to make sure I had enough of this cable to get over there. And then go up that wall like that. So it's pretty tight, like, to go across there, up there. Well, there'll be enough space though, we just have to keep it really tight. The other option is to stick it over there. I just don't know how long the power cord is on it. Yeah, so it could go over there. It would serve 2 purposes. It would cover these screws that look disgusting. Or one of them at least. We could put another one in there and hide them. Maybe I'll do that. I can still put that lighting driver over there. Yeah, let's do that. There. That'll cover up those 2. So obviously that's a 6mm masonry bit, drilling into a brick wall. I've got the drill set to hammer, which I didn't have it set to hammer. That's deep enough for what we're doing. You want to screw that first screw in far enough that it's got purchase, but not all the way in, because we're going to hang the controller from it. So we've got that hole there. That just sits like that. And then obviously you can see it's not straight. So that's that first hanging step, and then we will straighten the controller up using a spirit level and mark those other holes. Now there's 3 holes. I'll show you something that's going to be helpful. See, I can't open the door on this controller and mount the controller at the same time because it's going to hit that other device next door. So this controller comes off, that door comes off. So I can hang that controller on there without the door being in the way. And I can also take this off and go, well, I don't want that to be part of it either. So I'm going to pull that part off. And it just leaves me with this really nice open work area. And I can mark those additional holes. Now they've got 3 holes there. I'm going to do probably 1. I think 1 hole is going to hold it. This controller weighs nothing, and it gives me 2 spare plugs that I can use to use on conduit because I don't have any. Or then again, I can't screw the conduit to the wall anyway. So yeah, so I'm just going to go grab my spirit level and a texter, and we'll mark that other hole, and then that's hung. All right. Alright, so that's, I've got the spirit level on there just to check what I'm doing. See how that's like that? That top screw isn't far enough in to kind of like really pull that back. If that bothers you, take it off and do it again. It doesn't bother me. So that's the carcass of the controller. There's no intelligence there. It's just a driver and a module. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is get the cable run up neatly into the bottom of the controller. As I said before, we've got this red cable here. They're not always red. South Australia tends to be red. You can buy them in lots of different colours. Now, when you install these cables before a job, it's best practice to actually have them terminated with some points of some sort. If you have a look there, they're all rusty. Now, on a commercial project, that wouldn't be supported because the water can actually go down the cable, and yeah, so even that. One of those cables has got a little bit going on in there. So it won't matter for what we're doing, but if you can, it's a good idea to cover these with a waterproof connector or even some electrical tape or whatever you've got, so that when you go to the installation part of it, they haven't been damaged or they haven't been compromised from rust or excess water. So I'm going to get my conduits. Now, I reckon we can go behind the line with that. So these cutters I'm cutting with now, you can use to cut PVC conduits, copper. Oh, actually, no, you can't cut copper. You probably could cut copper, but yeah. I drilled the guys about that cut, and it's really hard to cut them. So I've got an elbow with the conduit. You want to thread all of the parts together before you join them up. So we're going to put that in there and pull that down, and then the elbow will go on next. And then I'm going to measure the. Ooh. I didn't take into account the length of the elbow. cut once. Yeah, measure twice, cut once. The elbow adds a bit of height to it. If you can't measure twice and cut once, then always cut twice, but don't cut too much off. Always not cut enough off. You can always cut more off. You can't add more on. So that'll be nice once that pushes on. They can sit there, and then I'm going to run a pipe across there, or a conduit, and then that last bit's going to go there. So this one here, we might actually do some measuring and cutting just to keep Duffy happy. Get that. Now you could use a tape measure for this. I'm not going to. So that elbow is going to go on there. All right, so then we put the last elbow on. No, the pool heater's been off. So that last piece there, I want to have it come into the controller a little bit, but not too much. We want as much room to work as possible in there. Going to be a better way to cut conduit. You could use a hacksaw to cut it, I guess. The advantage of those cutters is that it doesn't leave like all the kind of plasticky burrs. So some people will glue these conduits in. They actually feel quite tight without glue. And then ideally I would now saddle that to that. I might have to zip tight to it for now. I'm going to take some more of this off. Never cut conduit when there's cable inside it. You find you manage to cut the cable and the conduit at the same time if you do that. All right. Now, in true electrician form, everything I cut I'm just throwing on the floor and I'm going to leave it there. So now we're at the point where we can actually get the wires and wire them into the controller. So I've got some wire strippers here. These are wire strippers that I had lying around because I've got a toolkit and they came with them. You can buy wire strippers from electrical wholesalers. I think we sell them at Waterpro. I probably should know. There's a little lock there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 core cable here. I want to strip back a decent amount of the outer sheath without damaging the cables that are inside. So I've just done that now. You don't want to nick any of the sides of that. You don't want any of that cable to get exposed. Now we only need 4 cables and a common. When I used to install, I would go alphabetically from 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4. So B, brown and blue were first. Element P, Q, R. So blue and then brown. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So G would be green. And what's first? Red. Yeah. So brown, blue, green, red. And yellow and white won't get used for this, right? So I'll just fold them down. We'll probably terminate them with something, just so they don't get damaged. So we need enough cable to get into the common port, or to all the ports. I'm going to take about 8 millimeters, which would be 1/3 of an inch roughly of cable, and I've exposed that and twisted that up. So that's the black, which is our common. I'm going to repeat that process for blue, brown, hello, And green, blue, brown and green. And red? Yeah, red. Come on, Duffy, you taking notes?
Of course.
There is definitely better quality wire strippers than this. And there is probably better techniques. This isn't a video about technique. I think it's probably a better practice for me to kind of get the wire strippers on there, give it a bit of a twist, and then a pull.
Sorry to any electricians watching.
Yeah. Well, it just really highlights the importance of having the right tools. You know, I've got a lot of tools here, but I'm not installing irrigation systems on a daily basis now. I'm running an irrigation shop. Well, not even doing that, to be honest. So there we go. They're all twisted. I saw the electrician the other day using his pliers to twist cables, and he did it really quickly and really good. I guess that's the advantage of doing it on a day-to-day basis. Now, I'm going to wire these into the module. The module is through here. So we're going to put the black common in, and then the rest will follow. Oh, man. I don't know who else gets hay fever, but living in South Australia at the start of spring, I always get knocked about. So ideally you'd have some needle nose pliers for this. You want to point that, get that up under there. So pull your screw back out. Get it up in there and tighten that off. That doesn't look gorgeous, but it's okay. Now, we talked about alphabetical before, so that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll back those off. And we'll try and get in there with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Needle nose pliers would really make this a lot easier. Unless you've got some really small fingers, you can use them. So blue. Need to get these wires out of the way. No, you can't help me. You should be able to do this on your own, Clint. Blue, brown. This is honestly probably the most fiddly part of the install. Be careful not to break any cables.
This is where you've got to make sure you haven't mounted the controller in a stupid place on the floor.
On the floor, because then you can't get to it.
Or like super low to the ground. So.
Well, you don't. I think from a electrical standpoint, you don't want it too low to the ground anyway. I would suggest that I probably should have shortened the cables in some order, because the blue cable's obviously further over than the red cable. Yeah. Or I'll try and get them kind of under like that. I'm sure there's a good technique for this. What I've done, it will work. It's probably not the best technique. Yeah, so that's way too much loose cable. I'm fine with that. If we were having other modules in there, I wouldn't be able to have that in, trim that back down. But that's cool. They're wired in. The common's wired in. the valve, the sensor, sorry, the module's locked in. So now I'm going to put the panel back on. So that's just a simple process of pushing that ribbon into that slot. Put the top hole there. The bottom one, you just push down on this controller base a little bit. That's that done. And then the door goes back on. Now, you would program the controller. This is going to be interesting. There we go. So the door can be put on a 90-degree angle. That only opens out to there. I've probably put it a bit close. I'm not going to open this controller once it's been installed because we've got the Wi-Fi module. It's just going to get locked, closed, and all of the programming is going to be done from my phone. So that's how you mount a controller on a wall. That's probably a video in itself. An electrician would get all these cables and neatly move them over and zip tie them together. So that would be a case of just bunching that up nicely and just keeping all that loose cable out of the way, tightening that up. But that's it. The Wi-Fi module is going to go into here. I'll just put that in now so that you see how it works. The controller hasn't been wired up to the solenoid valves yet, so I can't do any programming yet. So that goes in there. Sorry, that goes in there. Jesus. So that's the Wi-Fi module. So I can close this now and close this. That's installed. It's ready to go. It just needs to be wired at the solenoid valves. I'm going to call this video complete, and then I'm going to show you now how to wire it up. So if you want to watch that video, it'll be linked up under this video, and then they kind of all tie together. So if you've already got a controller on the wall, you don't need to watch this one, or you've already watched it, but that's the one to watch. We'll go do that now, join it all together, and then I'll do a third video where I show you how we set up the link module to the phone and program the stations. So yeah, as with all our videos, if you're enjoying this, please subscribe, hit that bell, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you think. If you've got any questions, we'll try to get to them as soon as we can. Thanks.